So what we're going to do now is take the two shooter rod amp covers and spray them with clear coat so they're protected, because when they come in from Shapeways, they're a bit like exposed. There's no laminate or nothing on them, so clearing them protects them a bit. So what we're going to do is spray them with a Rust-Oleum clear. It's a gloss finish, so we're going to do that first. Okay, so we're going to spray these with a bit of clear coat from the can. We're just going to apply just say that's about it, I think. You don't want to spray too much. You don't want it to start dripping or have any kind of runs in it or anything like that. So, you know, you might want to do one quick coat and then maybe one more on top of it. And again, this the clear that I'm using, or I'm sorry, the clear that I'm using, yeah, it's more gloss than matte on mine, because I like to be a bit more gloss. But you could probably use a matte on it as well, and it would probably work just the same. So we're just going to put one more coat on it, maybe. And that should be good. So we're going to let this dry, and then we're going to put the backing tape on it so we could stick it to the shooter mechanism. And then also probably take the shooter rod out so we could put this onto the shooter housing. So, and then put the shooter rod through the new amp covers. Okay, now after that it was sprayed with the clear coat, it dried. So now what we have to do is put double stick tape on it so it sticks onto the shooter housing. So what I did was, on the back of it, there's 3M double stick tape that comes in rolls like this. Oops. And you could get this at Home Depot or Lowe's or something like that. And basically I cut it down so it would fit the actual back of this shooter rod housing. So basically what we're going to do now is take it and put it onto the shooter rod housing. And I already put it on my Kiss pinball machine, so now I'm going to put this on my Metallica pinball machine as well. Okay, so now to remove the rod, the plunger rod, is I already took the rubber tip off. So you just kind of got to pull this off. It's on pretty tight, so if you give it a good yank and kind of hold it and kind of twist it, it usually will come off. And then there's this little clip here that holds the whole mechanism together with the spring, and there's like a washer in back of that and all that. So with your fingernail, you can kind of pop it off, and once you kind of pop it off, just kind of hold this spring back, because it's kind of launch off if you don't hold it. So if you take this clip out and then take this washer out, and just remember the order of the parts of what you're taking off, and then the spring comes off, and then now the whole rod should slide out like that. And then now what we're going to do is take the plunger, the housing plunger amp, and apply it to the actual plunger housing. Okay, so now what I did was I removed all the sticky, the tape that protects the sticky on the back, so now it's sticky when I touch it. And what I do now is put it around the hole for the shooter rod and kind of give it a good nudge in there and kind of push it in just to apply all the sticky to the double stick tape to the back, you know, so it adheres to the plunger housing. And just be careful, because this material, what this amp is made out of, it seems quite fragile. It doesn't seem the most, it seems like it could crack fairly easy if you give it a good push, especially in this area up here, kind of where the buttons are for the amp. It seems a bit thin, or you just don't want to push too hard because you may crack it. So just be careful. So now it seems like it's in. So now what we're going to do now is apply the plunger rod again back in to the pinball machine. Okay, so now what we're going to do is install the rod again. So we're going to put the rod in, and the way that it goes is it goes spring, and then what you have to do is kind of just put your body against the end of the plunger so it doesn't go nowhere. Then it's going to be the washer. Then it's going to be the little clip that holds everything together, and there's a little notch in the rod that you'll see where this goes. So then you just kind of put in there till you hear it click, and it can't move. So now it's back in like that, and then we're going to take the rubber tip and just put it back on again. And that's really it. And that's really how you take out the shooter rod and apply the amp mod to your shooter housing. So next we're going to probably do another mod, and that's going to be on my Kiss pinball machine, and it's the speaker covers. There's a Paul Stanley and a GSimmons face that we're going to apply onto the speaker covers, I guess they would be, and we're going to do that next. Okay, now the next thing that we're going to install are these grill covers for your Kiss pinball machine. And basically it's GSimmons and Paul Stanley's face. And what we have to do is paint, because it's black, you're not going to see them on a black grill. So what we need to do is paint the actual grill that's on the pinball machine white, so these kind of stand out. That's the color that I'm going to choose to do, like their faces. So this will kind of stand out a bit more on the pinball machine. So now what we're going to do is go remove the speakers from the pinball machine and the grill cover and paint those white, and we're going to go and see how those uninstall from the machine. Okay, so now this is the DMD cover, and this is your speaker that goes here, and there's 4 screws that go where the speaker, like shafts, you know, where the nut would screw down onto. So the speaker is kind of attached to that. And then once you unscrew those 4 nuts, this comes off. And then now you have a grill guard that's underneath. So what we're going to do is paint this grill guard. And you ever want to go back, you know, if you ever want to take them off and just put it back to black, just paint them black again. You know, that's really not, you're not really changing much on the machine. Or you could buy probably new ones of these if you ever want to change it back. But it's but they're easy to paint, and that's what we're going to do next. So I'm going to go and remove the right hand side speaker, take both grill guards, and we're going to go paint them white. Okay, so now we're going to paint the grill guards, and what we're going to use now is Rust-Oleum, a paint and primer, all in one can, and we're just going to spray these 2 grill guards with the white paint and see how they turn out. So now what we're going to do is just let these dry, put another coat on, because it seems like they're going to need a couple coats. Okay, so now we're going to install the speaker grills with the covers of the speaker grill, of the GSimmons face and the Paul Stanley face, and basically what it looks like is something like that. So the plastic piece goes over the actual grill that we painted. So when you mount it, it goes down like that. So when you flip it, the top is going to be here, and the bottom will be down there, because that's the top of the DMD right here. So we're going to take the speaker grill and take that out, and take these two pieces here, and this guard has holes in it, and then you just kind of take everything and lay it in that way, and that's really it. And then when you lift it up, it looks something like that. So what we're going to do now is screw everything back in with the screws and washers that we took out beforehand, and then we're going to do the other side with the Paul Stanley face. But basically, that's really the installation is fairly pretty straightforward and pretty easy to do. So we'll get back and see the result after we're done mounting everything. Okay, so now I'm done mounting this one side of the speakers and the grill covers. So basically, I put the washer underneath and then the lock nut on top of that. So it's basically, if you look at it here, it's the GSimmons cover, then it's the grill guard that you took off originally, and then you bolt all that down with the nuts and the washers underneath, and basically that's what it looks like when it's completed. That's what it looks like when it's completed, just like that. So now we're going to do the other side with the Paul Stanley face and get this finished and wrap everything up. Now everything's installed, and that's what it looks like after everything is screwed back in with this, the speaker covers and the translates back up, the mirrored back glass, and the speaker grills, and everything is mounted. So again, I just painted the grills that we took out white. I installed the GSimmons and Paul Stanley speaker inserts, screwed everything back in, and I think it looks pretty good actually. It really pops with the white, and it really shows the face. If you just leave it black, it's just all going to blend together. You're not going to see anything. So I recommend doing that, painting the face or the speaker wire grill white to match the face of Paul Stanley, GSimmons, and then install the speaker cover over it. So next we're going to install a GSimmons shooter rod into the KISS pinball machine. Okay, to take the shooter rod off, I kind of did this in the last video, but I'll do it again. Basically, there's this little like ring right here that locks everything into place. You take your fingernail and you kind of pry it apart from like the underneath side over here, and then once you get it, you kind of just open it up and then you kind of just pull it off. But you got to hold all this stuff in, because if you don't hold that in, this will just launch right off, because now there's nothing holding it back. So there's a washer and the spring, and all of that comes off like that. Then you would take out your shooter rod here, and then kind of take... Okay, so now we're going to put the new rod in with the GSimmons face, and the process of how to put everything back on, it's washer, then it's the little spring that we have. So those go on first. Then you insert the shooter rod, and then it's washer, big spring. So now you got that, washer, and you gotta hold everything, because everything's gonna come flying off if you don't. And then there's like a little like tab in here, like a little lock in the shooter rod, and then this hook, this clamp here, kind of locks into that little notch, and you'll hear it kind of pop in like that, and that's it, and it's locked in there and it won't pop out. So now you can let go of everything and everything will stay on, and now, you know, it works like it did before. And then you have to kind of take your rubber tip for the end of this and just push it back on. Like that. And that's it. That's kind of how it all works. So this is the finished product. The new shooter rod. This Swinks amp shooter rod housing kit cover, which is made by Swinks, and it's really cool, and you can order it. I'll put all the links to everything that I'm doing here in the show notes on my WordPress page for the all the blog stuff that I input here for all the updates and all the mods that I'm doing, just so you have a reference of something to go back to if you want to order it yourself for any of these different things for your pinball machine. So so that's really it. And if you want, please go to my Facebook page or my Twitter page. Everything again will be in the show notes. Please subscribe so you can get more videos and everything else that I do with my pinball machines. And also email me at info@pinballsupernova.com if you have any questions. And I'll talk to you soon. Thanks. Okay, so for this mod, what these are is they're like swords or decorations for the flippers. I don't really do this to many of my machines, but these look pretty cool. And I believe I got those from Hooked on Pinball. And what they are is they're sticky on the back. You have to peel the adhesive off and then stick them down on the flipper, kind of like a Wizard of Oz with the red slipper type of thing. And then they attach that way. But before you attach them to your flippers, you should clean the top with some alcohol in case you got wax or anything on it. Clean this one off while I have it out. And then what you do is kind of peel the back off of that so the adhesive is sticky on the back, and then just kind of lay it out. On the top of your flipper and kind of press down. I don't know how well that adhesive is going to stick because it's moving it around quite a bit. Yeah, maybe that's a little bit better. Okay, and then we'll do the same for the other side. Kind of use your Williams logo for the position of the top. And just press down. And that's it. So they adhere to the top of the flipper. Hopefully they won't come flying off when we're playing a game. And that's it. So again, in the show notes, I'll put a link to all the places where I got these mods from. So if you want to get them for your machine, you could order them as well. So thanks for watching. And again, please visit all my sites that I have. And I'll talk to you soon. Thanks. Bye.